Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Well, we are closing in on the start of a brand new year, and lots of us have goals, the classic New Year's resolution we're thinking about. How do we initiate that? All of those tasks that come along with that. We're going to talk about that today. Last time we got together with her, we talked about procrastination, but we're looking at this through the lens of adults and children dealing with ADHD. How does that look when it comes down to task initiation? She's somebody that helps families, individuals all the time. She is an ADHD coach. I never knew they existed until I met Stacey Cannon, and she's back with us. Hey, Stacey, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to have you back here. And before we even dig into what we're going to talk about today, your background, let's reset that. We talked in the very beginning, but you were diagnosed with ADHD.
Yes.
And you have one child that has it as well, correct?
Correct. And I was diagnosed as a child, which
Gotcha.
a lot of adults haven't been, or when they are diagnosed, they're older.
I'm hearing more and more of that. And it's more women, and that could just be a coincidence. I don't know if there's a correlation there. But I know people, women that are in their upper 30s, lower 40s that always had a wondering, like, I wonder if there's, maybe there's, and then they just put it off, but they got diagnosed, I would say, in the ones I know, last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Is it just there's more awareness now?
Yeah, there's definitely more awareness. And I think, in my opinion, there's not as much of a stigma around it as there used to be.
Agreed.
And so
Yeah.
I think that has something to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I guess it all gets down to the two words mental health. If we said those words 15, 20 years ago, people would be like, somebody's got something going on over there. Now it's like, I need to take care of my mental health. I won't be in today. I'm going to talk to my therapist later. And it's like, I'm calling my friend, it's viewed the same kind of way. So task initiation, have to imagine that's got to be challenging for somebody with ADHD, right?
Oh, 100%. Yes. Yes. And I know with me, that's one of my biggies.
Yeah.
That I struggle with. And looking back on some examples, I wish I would have had some sort of a process that I could have worked through. For example, I'm thinking back to 7th grade when our teacher had us write a research paper, and my topic was on JFK. Of course, I'm at the dinner table crying because I'm just overwhelmed with what has to go into that I can't even get started. And I'm complaining and crying about, I just can't find anything on him. Well, did I really look yet? No. But I was in cognitive overwhelm with the entire task that I just couldn't start.
What in your memory do you remember that held you back? Is it just, I know I got to do this? Yeah. Okay. Let's break this down. In your example, I know I have to research it. Then I have to think about it. Then I have to write it. Maybe I have to create a cover for the report. I got all those things I have to do. It's just too much for me to even process how I'm going to do them, where I'm going to do them. Is it also a fear? And anybody has this, a fear of failure, that I'm just not going to be able to do it right, or I'm going to mess it up.
Oh, yes. I mean, that's where the perfectionistic qualities come in, which are very common with ADHDers, and just having to get it all right and just only seeing the end and what has to be done.
Were you able to see the end result in your mind?
Honestly, I don't remember that far back. But I think just once my parents were very helpful growing up, going to the library. Okay, just look for this. It got me on track.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, things are getting a little bit better. Now I can move on to the second part, which is getting the writing down and so forth. And there might have been an outline involved. I know a lot of people don't outline probably as much as we did back in the day, but um I think there was just some hand holding to walk me through it.
Hmm.
Once I had the meltdown and then, you know, that helped. But in hindsight, I didn't realize that's what was going on, I guess.
Wow. Yeah. And
Mhm.
the only reason I asked that last question was I was wondering if you could see the end result, but you knew that you couldn't get there. Um, like a
I,
lot of times, I don't have ADHD, but I'll see what I need to do. But
mhm.
getting there, that's a different story.
Right.
And I can relate to the perfectionism thing because I had to break that in me even recently, like in the last number of years. If you look at my office, there's a newspaper article, that big. When I was 17, a local library featured my cartoons. I want to be a cartoonist. And there's a quote for me that's at 17 that I am a perfectionist. And I kind of carried that along the way, and it didn't support me. It
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
it's just not a good thing. But
Uh-huh.
you don't realize it until you finally see what it's doing to you or how it's holding you back or putting challenges in your way. So I'll
Mhm.
let a lot of that go. But I'll probably say like the majority of it, like maybe in the last 6 years, five.
Right. And yes, we're older and wiser, and so I think it's easier to let some things like the perfectionism go to an extent, and you're probably more aware of it
Mm-hmm.
and so forth and the impact it has. But just another example, when I was in high school, I had to read Beowulf.
Oh, I remember that name.
Let me tell you what it was about.
Same.
But this is where the urgency came in. It's like, oh, like when something is crazy boring to an ADHDer, it is so hard to get started.
Can't imagine. Yep.
And then, you get, towards a quiz, and that's where that urgency picks up. But if your mind is like, I don't want to be reading this, this is boring, you're not going to take in the information you're reading. So I wish I had a better plan to get through it. The catcher is I go off to college and find out I have to read the book again. So I didn't really learn the first time, but that's when I got decent grades, but I called my parents up. I said, "Okay, I'm getting a C in English, but I had to read Beowulf." They're like, "That's fine. We understand." And
Hmm.
it looking back, I would have probably set my own timeline to read one chapter, reward myself, move
Hmm.
along, things like that.
I love that idea, and I can completely relate. Even as we're talking, I'm going back to high school, even junior high, and if you're not into it, you just don't, you're not getting into it. And now add ADHD on top of that and the focus. Yeah, I get it. Uh, Task initiation. Once we initiate that task, yeah, I'm doing it. How do you stay on board? Now you said reward yourself. Um, everybody's different in terms of
Of
what
course.
their reward is.
Absolutely.
But let's say if you were a kid, let's say you're an adult, what would be in your mind, a reward?
For an adult, if there's something, maybe you got some paperwork done at work that you didn't want to do, well, go step outside, walk outside your
Hmm.
office, or go grab a coffee
Okay.
because you're rewarding your brain, not just yourself, but it's kind of feeding your brain with the feel goods.
You know, I'm glad you said that because we forget about that stuff. The reward can be walking outside because you're getting grounded, you're getting fresh air, you're getting just a total different break from environments. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of us think reward, yeah, coffee is okay. That's great.
Yeah.
Rewarded myself today already. Uh, however, we might think, maybe it's food or something else, but yeah, we minimize or don't realize how important it is just to take a break and walk outside. So
Mhm.
I think that's a great idea.
And this other example can be for, a teen or an adult, say you need to get caught up on maybe some emails, from teachers or students if you're working on something or your boss. Okay, maybe you can set a timer for 20 minutes.
Hmm.
Do that email and all that stuff. Reward yourself with 10 minutes on Facebook if that's something you like to do.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Very individualized. Even for some, like, okay, let's say you have a task, got to write a report for work or whatever, proposal, whatever.
Yeah.
The reward could actually be I'm going to check my email after that because maybe I don't want to do the proposal. It's kind of doesn't excite me, but I got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Checking my email, I'll feel like I've crossed things off my list and it'll make me feel better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
very individualized, but uh, what I'm getting from you, Stacey, is the reward's got to be there, whatever it is, to keep
Mm-hmm.
to keep you moving forward.
And the more you kind of follow that type of pattern, you're going to get in a groove to where it's going to get easier and easier
Hmm.
because the wiring in your brain, which can change for the better, it's called neuroplasticity. It's those connections are going to improve essentially.
What is that? I've heard that term quite a bit lately. What does it mean?
Okay, so that's where the brain's ability to, don't ask me all the scientific terms beyond the neuroplasticity, but when you get into a rhythm of something that works for you and like the ADHD brain, those connectors can improve in a way that some of these tasks or your executive functions can get better.
So
It's
did,
yeah, the
did
brain can just change a little bit.
okay, so it's the connection that your brain has, and is that, I'm going simple here, but when people talk about rewiring your brain,
Yes. Hmm.
oh, okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, what are some other things that we can do to keep us on track, with those tasks?
I like the idea, and this works for a lot of people, is a countdown timer. Say you want, not
Hmm.
you want to, but let's say you need to do your dishes. Set a timer for 20 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever you choose. Respect the timer. When it goes off, you're done. See how much you get done
Hmm.
with that because I always think back to urgency because say you have family coming over, friends coming over. I know, like, I'm looking around the house, see what I can pick up and straighten up. Even if it's 10 minutes before they come over, there's a lot I could get done. So compare that to setting a timer when you need to get your dishes done. It's not necessarily urgent,
Hmm.
but some people like having to be up against time.
Accountability.
Yeah.
If there was a bazillion Stacey's around, you could be following me or somebody else and say, you got to do the dishes by 10 o'clock. You said that you would do them by 10 o'clock.
Mhm.
Use the use the timer. I like that.
Absolutely.
It's like almost beat the like there's an old game show way, way back in the day called Beat the Clock, and you had to do certain things by before the timer went
Oh,
off. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. And it challenges you and keeps you on pace. So you don't just take, I'll get to that. I'm going to do this first. I'm going to watch TV and no, you have until, whatever time,
mhm.
20 minutes from now, half hour from now. I'm honestly going to do that today. I'm going to
Yeah.
set my phone and say, you need to do A, B, or A, B, and C before the timer goes off.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I give a time estimator sheet to clients, and it's just write whatever it is you do in a day, and it could be taking out the trash, your shower, just getting ready. They put how much time they think it takes, and then they can time themselves and compare.
Hmm.
And it really can be eye-opening for somebody who it's just hard to take that trash out of their bedroom or something.
Yeah.
So now, being under time pressure isn't always good in certain situations, but just things around the house is a good way to put that into action.
I love it. I love it. I have tons of stuff I put off at home, like the litter box. Today I was walking past. I'm like, gotta take care of that. And like, I don't think everyone to get home. I should have done it before I went to work.
Hmm.
And same thing, passing garbage cans. They got to be empty. I'm like,
Hmm.
but if you challenge yourself, it's the accountability. It's really what it is. The
It
timer is
is.
is your accountability.
Absolutely. And as we grow up, we're the ones who are responsible for ourselves.
Yeah, ultimately.
Yeah.
Uh, any other ideas to keep us on task when it comes to doing tasks?
It's always, I think if whether maybe you're working from home or you're a kid, coming home doing homework or something, find a space that's going to work for you in
Hmm.
your house. Something that has reduced distractions and, put your phone away. But, again, with a timer, set a timer for 10 minutes. Give yourself 10 minutes to start something. And with that, it's okay to stop at 10 minutes. But if you feel like you can keep going, do that.
Hmm. Okay. It's uh it's challenging.
Yeah,
It is. It is.
yeah, I know. And I think finding when you can get most of your stuff done, if you're an adult, get those harder things or those harder things that you have during your workday, get those done when it's easier for you to focus, which I know we've talked about before, but really paying attention to that.
For you personally, are there different times of the day that your focus is better?
Yeah, for me, it's mid-morning about this time.
Yeah, me too.
Mhm.
And I find maybe it's like many people later in the day or evening, I'm just I can't do it. Like I'm just no, I can't
Yeah,
focus. Yeah, I'd like to take care of that stuff, that work, from home. I can't. I'm like I feel drained. Like my brain is drained.
right, right.
Hmm.
And I'm sure, I mean, we all feel that way, but
I know, but amplify
it's
that with somebody with
amplify
ADHD.
that, and it's so much easier to get stuck in a rut
Yeah.
when you
Hmm.
get home.
So do you personally or your family, are you in a schedule mode, like very much scheduled? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it's great. Whatever works.
Not as much now as we used to be, only because my kids have their own transportation to get where they need to go. So in some ways, it's easier for me to go home and get dinner on and so forth. But, you know, I try to really just kind of revolves around dinner with us. And so I try to have something ready
Hmm.
for them for when they get hungry. So they're not eating something right before dinner and then nobody wants anything.
Right.
Yeah, but I will say, um, if I could do it over when if my kids were still little, I would definitely have more of a schedule. Which even during the holidays, it would be okay. Now that you're up, you're not going to stay in those same pajamas. I want you to change clothes. If it's okay, it doesn't snow much in Texas, but if we do have ice days. I was like, I would make it to where I don't care if you put on a different pair of pajamas, you're still going through the motions
Hmm.
of changing.
Hmm. Okay.
And then, we would do whatever and then kind of have lunch around the same time and so forth. I don't know how much it would be like so structured that everybody would be out of sorts if we didn't follow it, but I would definitely have if I could do it over, definitely be more structured.
I'm totally on your page. Even when I come home from work, I change my clothes. The first thing I do is change
Mhm.
because I just want to get into the home mode and not the work mode. And you could be wearing jeans at work. It doesn't matter.
Right.
The change is a change. We're transitioning from this to that.
Mhm.
I find it's essential. Like
Yeah.
I normally wouldn't just, walk around wearing the same stuff. Maybe I'll just put a, pair of sweats on or whatever.
Right.
I think it and mentally it's important.
It is. It is. Absolutely. And I will tell you though, like my kids still have the same, I guess, evening routine as when they were kids. That's when they, get their showers and all that kind of stuff. So I guess that looking back, it just dawned on me that hasn't changed.
Hmm. Yeah. For when my kids were younger and people would make fun of me, but I would have them go to bed earlier. Like, what's early? I would think, 8 o'clock or whatever. And I'm talking when they were, 7, 8, around there. Um, Once you get them into the routine, they would just start walking up the steps. All right, good night. I'm like, okay, good
Right.
night. I didn't
I'm
even have to say. And there was also, those challenges when they're a little bit younger, and then, party comes up or whatever. It's like, should I deviate? Is it more important to go to that or break their routine?
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think if you just kind of plan ahead, just say, hey, we're just going to do this a little later so you can go to the party if that
right.
works.
Hmm.
All kids are different with different needs.
For sure. Now, this is the stuff that you help people with, and that's families, parents, individuals that have ADHD.
Yes.
Um, Tell us how that process works. Somebody just reaches out to you. Everybody has a story. They tell their
Uh,
story, and then
Yep. They reach out to me. I will give everybody a free discovery call, whether it be on the phone or by Zoom, and then they decide if they want to start, and we go from there.
hmm, I love it. There's such a need for this. I think you need a coach anyway, no matter what.
Right?
Add ADHD to it, and there's not too many of you out there.
Right.
What's your website?
Hill Country ADHD.com. And I haven't mentioned this, but I'm on Instagram at Stacey Cannon Coaches, and Stacey is EY. So
Okay.
you can look at me there as well.
And Canon is two N's.
Yeah, CANNON.
So, final question, talking about task initiation. Right now, at this very moment, name two tasks that you got to get done within the next couple of days or day.
Oil change and mailing off some last minute Christmas gifts.
Yep, I got you. Isn't it funny that we have them up here, and my car is making a strange noise, and I need to reach to my friend who's like, the car guru, like, and
Ah,
we kind of know what it is, but we're not really sure. I got to figure out how to take care of it. and wrapping some presents. Because the presents where I don't know when I'm going to meet up with these people, and it could be, hey, why don't we get together tonight? No problem. Yeah, got to get that done. But it's amazing how we all, no matter what, operate the same way. We're all thinking about the same stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Stacey, great talking with you. Love what you do and the way you do it. And great having you on here today.
Thanks for having me.
And happy holidays too.
Yes. Happy holidays.
We'll talk soon. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.